From
Carlos Contreras.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hey, hello. How you doing, James?
Pretty good. How are you doing today, Carlos?
I feel blessed. I feel joyful, appreciated, and Thanksgiving was yesterday, so just in the spirit of gratitude.
Well, I want to go ahead and thank you for calling in. Taking time out of your day and reaching out to me and allowing me to put your story out so you could go ahead and share with the masses. And I also want to go ahead and thank and wish you a happy Thanksgiving or a happy late Thanksgiving. And today, well, it's Black Friday, so normally they would have those deals and stuff for TVs and stuff, but not this year. It's not.
Right,
They're not giving deals like they used to.
right. All right now. Yeah, I believe I left off where I was being interrogated, and I had just got caught up, running around the streets, taxiing for the big homies, and I ended up getting caught up with the guy who had the keys to the whole valley, and pretty much pulled my number. What do I run? Southern California, gangster, what I mean, like sureños. And when he pulled my number, I just had to obey because that's what we do when you're in a gang or part of a prison gang or part of that big gang. And so when we went around all Coachella Valley just taxiing around, uh, we were under surveillance. I didn't even know, and that's when we ended up getting caught up on the second day, and that's when they pretty much didn't even take me to county jail. They took me to the sheriff's office to interrogate me, and I didn't have no idea what they were trying to interrogate me for. And when they pulled me up in there, they were taking all my prints. They were putting me in this plastic hazmat white suit, drawing my blood, and I'm like, man, they never done this before. And so once they got done doing everything, um, they they started asking me, where were you at? Like, what were you doing these past couple of days? I told him nothing, man. And he goes, that's when the investigator told me. He goes, you know what? We've been watching you for 2 days already. We know what you guys been up to. You and that other guy that got away, and the other guys that were behind you, that got, we have in process right here too, and we're gonna interrogate them as well. So your stories are not gonna, if they don't match up, then we know you're lying. And so I was like, yeah, whatever. And then he goes, you know what? We don't even care what you guys are doing. I want to know what you were doing this day. And he showed me a picture of me coming out of a fast trip. And coming out of that fast trip, I remember that night. And it was me. I was using a stolen credit card. It's all public records, you know what I mean? And and so I told him, so what? I was using a stolen credit card, you know what I mean? So what? And he goes, well, did you know that it belonged to a dead guy 30 minutes after he used that credit card? And I was like, whoa. I was like, oh. And I said, you know what? I need my attorney. I have nothing to tell you. And so, like, he still tried to interrogate me for like a whole hour. And I'm just sitting there like, nah, man, hey, I already told you I need my lawyer. Like, I don't have nothing to tell you. So he got frustrated and just ended up taking me to jail. And that's where my journey started, on this case, how I ended up on death row. And got locked up, went into general population, where all the actives go. And the next day, I could just imagine like how bad it was on the news from my family members. My name being put out there that I was being booked for attempted murder, for murder, 187. And it was only like about 2 weeks later that they announced that they wanted to pursue the death penalty on me. And I've never really knew that I could have got the death penalty. That was never in my forefront or ever thought about of anything whatsoever about the death penalty until they pretty much told me, like, I was still in like disbelief, like started asking all kinds of questions, like why are they giving me the death penalty, or what is the whole natures of the death penalty, like started asking all these curious questions, and my attorneys that I had at the time, and so I didn't really come to a realization of it until maybe like 2 years into my sentence. Like, damn, I'm really getting the death penalty. So
And
yeah, that's
so I know like on some parts of your case, obviously you don't want to speak about it right now because you're in the middle of an appeal, and obviously I mean we don't want them to use anything that we talk about on here to affect your case. Um, but
right.
can you talk about like how when you were going to court, like how long were you going to court for, and did you have like a public pretender, and like how the atmosphere was in the courtroom? Is that something you're allowed to talk about, or do you wanna refrain from speaking about your court
Yeah,
the court
okay.
proceedings? Okay.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, chirp out like um when I first got my first attorney, right? Um, I remember, I ain't gonna lie, it was when I got busted. Um, I had I had got a big old piece of dope. That the guy that got away that night that I was with the day that we got busted. He turned himself in, and because we were doing stuff for the big homies upstate, he brung us a big old piece of eight bomb, up his ass, and at the same time he brought some more for the guy that was also a piece.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
He also brought another piece for the guy that was with us, and the rest he was going to report to the back. Where the guy who had the whole county jail, the whole Riverside County, and and so when he brought that in, he left me my piece, and you could just imagine being stuck in a box and people getting high on speed for like a whole week. People start getting kind of crazy. They're not sleeping. They're hearing voices. They're like, hey, he's talking about me. Everybody's tripping, right? And I remember going to my first attorney visit. I flipped out on him. He was like, okay, I want you to, my first attorney, when he first came in, he goes, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm representing you. I need you to tell me everything that happened. And I was like, no, you're working for the DA. You're here to find me guilty. I ain't telling you shit. And I flipped out on him, and I don't trust you. You're not for me. And he scheduled me for an appointment to go to court. And he dropped my case. Conflict of interest. He says I can't work with this guy. He doesn't believe me. And so I ended up getting another attorney maybe like 2 months later. And my second attorney, the first thing he did, he goes, look, I'm sitting down in the courtroom, my first day meeting him, and he gives me a piece of paper. He goes, read these papers, read this case law. And it's a case law that he represented in the past. And it was a guy going to court, and this guy did the mentally insane plea, right? That he's mentally insane, that he's incompetent. So he needs to go to a crazy house. And it helps to reduce your charges, right? And so he comes back, and I give it back to him, and he goes, did you read it? And I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, how do you feel about that? He goes, look, Mr. Contreras, I don't believe you deserve the death penalty. I believe you deserve life in prison, but not the death penalty. Do you think you can make that happen on that report that you just read? And I was all like, okay. So he sends all these doctors towards me, right, to, therapists and to see if I'm competent. And so there I go, playing the crazy role for like the first couple of months of my trial, of my just investigating before I go to trial, and it was just like I passed with flying colors, Like he kept
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
visiting and giving me the thumbs up, right? And like, you're doing good, keep doing that, and I can help you so you don't get a death penalty. And so, I ended up going through some awakenings during that whole process of my time there. You know, reading the Bible, learning what's right from wrong. Not lying anymore. I had a conscience, and so I wanted to try to do things right and go through this whole different experience, because the deceptive mind that I had I wasn't agreeing with it no more. So I ended up firing that lawyer because I didn't agree to his tactics or to his plans. And I did a conflict of interest on him filing a Marston hearing and wanting to fire him. And so when I did the Marston hearing, I had to stand up and tell the judge why I saw fit for him not to represent me no more. And that showed that I was competent. That showed that I was capable of learning things, and that I had a high school diploma, and that I wasn't crazy. So he was like, the judge at that time granted me my Marston hearing, replaced my attorney with a new set of attorneys. And so every single time I had to start all over my case. And so I spent 5 years in county jail fighting these 4 life sentences, and ended up I got busted in 2008. I ended up going to trial about 2012, around there, roughly, and ended up getting convicted and sentenced to death in 2013, around there in May. And, those are tough words to hear, you know what I mean? Like, it was one of the most traumatic experiences that I ever experienced in my life during my whole court process. But I had a new perspective with, having faith, believing in Jesus Christ, asking for forgiveness, and at the same time, watching my family, watching the news, how they're smutting me up, making me look like this like serial killer, like this monster, right? And so, it was rough to watch during the penalty phase, because there's 2 phases. There's the guilty phase where they find you guilty of your charges, and then there's the penalty phase, the guilty and penalty phase. And the penalty phase is to see if you deserve a lesser charge than the death penalty. And during that time, you get to see your whole family plead for your life, why you shouldn't get the death penalty, because they love me. And, if you ever went to a wake where, you get to go and, speak on a person that's dead, like, man, he was a good son, or he was a good person, and, that's when they talk good about you, right? It felt like I was living through something like that, watching my own people, my own family members and friends plead for my life. Like, a piece of me was dying right there. And it hurt, to watch them all die, you know what I mean? Like watch them all, tear up and see me go through everything. And it was a traumatic experience, man, a very traumatic, impactful experience for me that I wouldn't even wish on nobody, because it's deep.
And once the jury deliberated, how long did it take them for them to find you guilty?
It was about, I think it was almost like 6 days to 7, and they were asking for more transcripts, more evidence, and I guess my attorney had
You have 60 seconds remaining.
forgot to admit some things into the file, and they weren't able to review some of the records that they used for the evidence, and so there was a lot of reasonable doubt there, and so it wasn't an automatic, like, the next day deliberating he was guilty. No, there was a lot of reasonable doubt, And so it took about 6 days.
And I know it's about to hang up, so you want to go ahead and give me a call back, and then we'll go ahead and continue
Yeah,
with your journey.
I will.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, so every 15 minutes, unfortunately these calls are cut off. So normally, they tend to call me back pretty quickly. So we'll go ahead and continue with his testimony or his journey, where he currently at right now. And for any of you that have missed his last six interviews, I've been well, sorry, it's five right now. I'm in the process of uploading the sixth one right now, and that's why if you're wondering why the screen is kind of laggy right now, it's because of that. It's because I'm uploading the last part of his interview. It should be done in about another 20 minutes or so, 14 minutes supposedly right here. What I'm seeing on the screen, it's uploaded 81% so far.
This
This call is now
Global
being
Tel Link.
recorded.
You have a prepaid call from
Carlos Contreras.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right, Carlos. Thank you
All right.
for calling us back. And you know what? I want to take you back to that day,
Yeah.
after court and whatnot, because I've been in those holding tanks before, where in county jail,
Okay.
where somebody, they come back from court, and then they get a life sentence, and it just seems like the mood, those type of when those sentences are handed down, it does affect the atmosphere or the mood within those holding tanks. I've never been in a holding tank where somebody was
Yeah.
was sentenced to death, and the last time I was in
Right.
county this was like back in 2001. So I haven't been in those type of situations in a long time. But back then, if you got a life sentence in LA County Jail, what they would do is they would chain you up. They would put the chains around your waist, and then they would chain you up, and then they would separate you from population. Because I guess I'm assuming they do that just for the safety of everybody else. Because I'm sure people have been handed down sentences like that, and they probably hurt people, or maybe even done even worse. Probably unalive them. So when you went back to your holding tank, what was the mood like? Did you share that with anybody else? What were you thinking? What was your mindset at that time?
Okay. So during the beginning of my trial, when I was going through my trial, it's tiring because you're waking up early in the morning. They're showering you. You're putting on your suit. You're going to court. And then hearing all these things. It's mentally draining, right? And then at the end of the day, you would come back and go into the tank where everybody was at. And then because I was always used to working out, I would always come back, work out, and we had like prayer circles at night. And during that night, I would pray for all my victims, that they would have strength, that they would have strength through the process. I would pray for my parents, my family members, and for me to have strength, to get through the whole trial. And then through the middle of the trial, that's when they kind of like, once they found me guilty, they pulled me in an ISO cell where there was a penalty phase. And during that time in the ISO cell, imagine waking up in a smaller box now, in a small cell, concrete bed, and you're waking up every morning by yourself. And all I had every morning was my Bible. And so I would just read the Bible, read some stories, and start singing some praise songs inside my cell before I would get ready to go to go get dressed up for put on the suits on, and then go to my penalty phase. And then when I got found guilty, like, did I see that coming? You can kind of say the way the trial was going. Yes, I did. So mentally, I was prepared. Emotionally, it kind of hurt.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
It kind of hurt to see my family right there like that. But in a way, it was like it was a time for me to see all my family right there, and like it felt like I was like when I was being sentenced to see there was about 20 of them there, and just to like give them my last goodbyes, and like the last time I ever see them, and then getting the chains put on me back, and then being sent into hearing like you're gonna spend your life in a small box to die by the lethal injection someday, and you're gonna be in San Quentin where you're gonna be in the smallest space in a small cell, and that's where you're gonna spend the rest of your life and die. And so, I kind of expected all that, like knew all the wording of it because I read different case laws, and so when I went back to my cell, all I could think about was prayer, man. That's what gave me hope. That's what gave me my joy, was just praying to God and telling him thanks to help me to get through it, and that it wasn't as bad as I thought, but it, to the point for my family. And they gave me my last visits with my parents the next day, and like 2 days later, they processed me, took me to Riverside County, and I was in death row within that same week, like 4 days later. So yeah, like during that waiting period, like you know, I was real, remorseful. I was going through like things that I already had faced throughout before the trial. You know what I mean? Through my spiritual awakening and my experience, I was just like, finally, get to start my life. Because it's like I'm in a limbo waiting through the process. What are they going to do with me? Now I know where I'm going to finally go. Now I know where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. And I can start getting there. I've been in prison before, so I wasn't scared or nothing like that. And, but there was like a little bit of unknown. Okay, I'm going to death row, like San Quentin death row. There was that little bit of unknown. Just like when a first person goes to camping somewhere and first time, like, or is there a bird gonna pop out, or is there like the unknown? And yeah, what I mean, like it was rough. It was rough, you know what I mean? It can get mentally draining, but you gotta find peace. You gotta find forgiveness in yourself. You gotta find these different layers of aspects of acceptance, because there's a lot of people that still don't accept their sentence, they don't accept their life, and they're living in denial, and it keeps them from healing.
Let me ask you. So, so they moved you to death row pretty quick, right? When you go to
Yeah.
death row, you don't go through reception. Is it is the being transferred is a lot different then, right? Than going just to the straight to the main line.
Over there, when you get to San Quentin, there's a place called the Adjustment Center. It's considered the whole for all San Quentin, right? It's the whole. And the Adjustment Center right there is our reception. And when we get to that reception, they pretty much we're in a single man cell until we go to committee, and they 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 vet you, like you go through the whole process of, okay, what are you? Are you a gang member? Are you a dropout? Are you this? Are you that? And then you go to yard, and then they put you with your people. Out there, there was a yard, there was kennels, there's people programming in a big yard of 20 all together. And so like there's still little sections, the northerners, the southerners, and then there's people in the cages, and people that are dropouts or whatever. And so they do all that process as soon as you get there within the first 2 weeks or so. But to tell you the truth, my experience getting to the reception center was something different, because usually, I was already a dropout during that time. I pretty much got tired of being used and wanted to get out of the gangs, and I got smutted up with a third, of dope during that time in county jail. So that caused me to get into protective custody area where it's SMY, and these are people that are no longer active affiliated with gangs anymore, But there's also some people that are in there with funny charges, charges, that they're child molesters, rapists, snitches, and they're categorized as the bad of prison, right? And they house you with these people, and that was the only downside about it. But when you go to the AC, they house everybody together. Like, there's an active guy right here. There's an active guy in the next cell behind you. The next guy is SNY. The next guy is SNY. The next guy is active, SNY, active. So you're like all housed within the same building, the same tier. And to me, that was new. I was like, ooh, I gotta be on my toes right here, like, and I when I got there, it was very traumatic for me. Like I said, I just went through my penalty phase, watched my whole family plead for my life, and it was devastating for me because I didn't have none of my property, and the devil was whispering in my ear about, you're no good to nobody, you're a burden, you're gonna be a burden to the rest of your family for the rest of your life. They're gonna have to support you. They're gonna, all these voices were just coming to me, like guilt and shame, and I ain't gonna lie. I grabbed my sheet and I started ripping it up, and I started making a rope to try to hang myself. The first couple of days that I was there, and I tied it to the bars and put my feet on the top of the sink, and I made a noose on, and I put it on, and then I pretty much put my feet on top of the sink and let go down and try to kill myself. And when it was choking me out, it hurted so much. I wasn't passing out. None of that was happening. All I could feel is the pain around my neck. Like, it hurted so much that I moved my feet and I stood up, and I was like, man, that shit hurts. Like man, it's just hard. It's hard to kill myself, and when you're in a mindset like that, like, time stops, you don't see nothing but the situation that's happening to you. And some people might call it weak-minded. Some people might call it like the devil got the best of them, and some people just don't want to do the time in prison like that. And so the adjustment center, I remember that, and so I tried to do it again, and the officers caught me in the act. And there was two officers there, and one was a Mexican, the other one was a black, and they were feeding chow. I didn't even know it was chow time, and so they cracked open my slot door to my door to give me my tray, and they looked at me and they see me with a noose on my neck, and they were like, "What the hell are you doing?" And then the other one, the black guy, was like, "Man, just leave him alone. Let him kill himself. Just let him kill himself. Let's just finish feeding the trays, and we'll come back and pull him out." And the other guy had a conscience, obviously. The Mexican guy goes, "No, I can't leave him, man."
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
He was like, "I can't leave him, man. I can't do this." And he's all like, "No, no, forget that guy, man. Let him kill himself, man." And he goes, "No, I can't do it." And so he pushed the button, and they pulled me out, and they put me in a crisis unit, for suicide. And that's when I started my mental health program, and I ended up becoming a EOP. And in prison, that's a term that they use, and it's where I need extra mental attention, pretty much. And so, yeah, that was my first week in prison, man. It was like that.
And I have a question from one of our guests, because I am running this one live. This is not like our other six segments that we recorded previously. So right now we actually have we
Right.
do have some live watchers here, and I want to go ahead and give a shout out
Okay.
to the people that are currently on here that have participated in the chat. So first off, we have Elias Man. That's a name that you're going to be hearing a lot. Whenever you do these lives with us. He's always in here.
Okay.
He's probably one of the top three supporters here. And then we also have Frank.
Okay.
He's a newer member to the channel. And then Eliasman is
Right.
actually asking a question. He wants to know what happened to the Time Warner guy, because they know what happened to the dog, but they're curious to know whatever happened to the guy that worked for Time Warner that gave you those faulty filters.
Yeah, man, that's the one that got away. And yeah, man, it's kind of crazy because the guy that lit the fuse, you know what I mean? That's the one that got away, man. And yeah, he ended up living his life, had babies and whatever, so forth. But yeah, that's the one that got away. And I never ended up getting that guy. And the way my mindset was, the way I was thinking, the way I was living, yeah, that's the one that got away though. He ended up living his life, man.
All right, all right. And so I'm gonna take you back to death row. So when
Right.
you
You
because
have 60 seconds remaining.
well, if you want to go ahead and call
Yeah.
me back, and then we'll go ahead and
Yeah.
continue because
I'll
60
call you
seconds is
back.
not gonna be enough.
Yeah. All right.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, Elias, man. Hopefully that answer answer your question. If not, if you have another one, then I'll go ahead and ask him for you. Um, but right now when he calls back, I'm gonna ask him kind of like if there was anybody notorious in death row. What kind of people were there. Anybody maybe if it was like a name that we recognized, or that those people that were higher profile were they separated and put into a different unit. I don't know. For some reason, I just pictured Death Row like a lot different than what he pictured than he explained it was. Where that there was like different gang members.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Carlos Contreras.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right, Carlos, thank you for
All
calling
right.
us back. So I have
Yeah.
a question in regards to Death Row because I mean you're the first person that's
Yeah.
been on here that's actually been to Death Row, and I think you're the only person I've ever talked to that been to Death Row.
Yeah.
So
Right.
so like when you picture when you're telling us what death row is like, for some reason I just pictured it totally different. I just thought that like I wasn't even thinking there was like gang members in there. I just thought there was like Richard Ramirez and Peter Lacey, the one that killed or what's his name, Peter. What's I don't remember that guy that
Scott.
killed Lake.
Scott
Yeah,
Peterson.
Scott. Yeah, him. Yeah, I'm thinking like these dudes
Yeah.
are like they're running
Right.
wild around there with Charles Manson, and,
Right.
and obviously that's
Yeah.
not the case. My definitely my mind was running wild and making up like some far fetched stories. But did you ever come across
Right.
anybody that was like high profile like that, or were those people like in a different unit where they pretty much were separated from the I guess general population of death row inmates?
Okay. So, high profile cases, like everybody's a high profile case there, right? Just in different aspects of the natures of their crime. But, did I end up running to Scott Peterson? He was like in North Sag. They had him in like a high secluded area. People that are, they call it the Hilton of death row, right? Because they get to walk around freely. They're not in chains all the time. All their doors open up, and it's like a tier of 36. And up there were people that are good, like goody two shoes, or there was a big hit on your life on the yard, and they separate you from the death row East Block area, and and they put you in this other little place. And there was a good community there, 36 cells on one side, 36 cells on the other side of the building. And it was hard to get into those places unless somebody died or somebody went back to court. That's the way you're able to make it up into they call it the upper room, right? But as for the nature of high-profile cases, there is a lot of high-profile cases. A lot of things can get you the death penalty: murder, murder while robbing somebody, murder while carjacking somebody, murder while like mayhem, cutting them, Uh, some people eat them. You know, I mean, there's like, chop up the bodies. Mayhem, multiple murders, execution style to the head. That's a high profile case for death penalty. And there is a mafia in there, Mexican mafia in there. There is a lot of gang members in there. Um, and there is people that killed multiple people. There are people that literally killed their cellies in prison, killed guards in prison. They didn't even catch their crimes out in the street. They caught their death penalty in prison by killing prison guards or killing their cellies, like really bad. And they ended up on death row. And so, there's every single gang that you can think of in there still. During that whole process, like I said, I was in the AC Adjustment Center. They put you through a whole, when you go to committee, they try to ask you, okay, we got you on record as a Southern California gang member, and then you have to explain to them, look, I'm no longer part of that set. I'm a dropout. So they purposely, when you go outside to yard, they put you next to the guys that are, sureños, or the person that has the whole, you know what I mean, the guy in charge. And when they put me next to the guy who had the whole hole, which was the big homie, he asked me, he goes, hey man, where you from? I said, from Coachella. He goes, oh, you're Coachelano, huh? He goes, yeah. And he goes, man, you know what? I heard about you already. I heard about what they did to you. And because there was people already going ahead of me that got got the execution sentence, and my name got already to death row before I even got there. And he goes, yeah, I heard you got smarted up, man. A bunch of youngsters over there running the whole show. And he goes, you know what? I got the power, though. I got the power to make you good, man. And you just gotta go, get back with the homies, take your little chequeada, your little stabbing, and then that's it. You'll be good, We'll make you good again. And I was like, nah, you know what? I turned my life to God. I'm a Cristiano now, and I don't want nothing to do with that no more. I already retired my number. My family at that time, I already talked to the people, and
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
my people already talked to the people up in Corcoran, the ones who had the whole ranfla, and I got taken off the count, and they just told me it is what it is, and just keep your mouth shut, and that's it. That's all they told me to do. So respectfully, I told them I already talked to all the people that have on the high places before you, so they know that I got smutted up, and they know my case. So I'm not on no blacklist where they put a hit on me because I didn't do nobody wrong. And so plus I was raised in the gang, so they know me, they know my family, like they know what I put in already for the cause from way back. So I had my little respect at that time. So a lot of people respected who I was and my decisions and how I went about things. It wasn't like I went out backwards. It was more like they're telling me, come back, Carlos, hey, come back, Bones, come back. and because, these were all my homeboys that I know from the street, from growing up and doing crime. But yeah, there's still politics in death row.
And Eliasman just put a message up right here. He says that nearly 10% of death row are from Riverside County and from down south. That's interesting.
Yes, there is a lot of people. There's a lot of people from Orange County over there. There's a lot of people from LA County. And to tell you the truth, there's more blacks than anything in death row that I see. And the minority of the whites and the others, which are Indians, the Chinese, the Samoans, but the next ones in line are the Mexicans. There's a lot of Mexicans in there, and from all over Califas, from all over California, and from Riverside County. During the years that I was there, the district attorney who was in charge was just giving out the death row like if it was candy. He just needed two circumstances to add up, murder, carjacking, murder, murder, robbery, anything, you know, that added up to anything with murder on top of it, it was a special circumstance, and they can give you a death penalty for that. Murder for hire, murder for financial gain, racial murders, uh, stuff like that. Like, so in Riverside County, during our year, there was a lot of people sent to death row because of the court system that was happening on right there at that time. They were just giving it away, man.
I want to ask you about a case, if maybe possibly you heard about it. So back in 2013, there was a kid, a child. His name was Gabriel Fernandez. Are you familiar with that name?
No.
No. Okay. So he was out. He lived in Palmdale, and his mom and his stepdad
Okay.
were torturing the kid. And the reason I'm asking you if you heard of him, because his stepdad, he ended up getting found guilty of of pretty much unaliving the kid, and he ended up getting sentenced to death row. And his name was
Okay.
Isauro Aguirre. You that name doesn't ring a bell. Yeah, it was all over the news for
No,
for
and
for some time. Yeah.
he got sentenced to death row in 2013. So
Uh,
that's when I got there.
no, well, no,
So,
the murder
well,
happened
he
in.
got busted.
Yeah, that's when he got busted. I'm not sure when was it that.
Mm,
I'm pretty sure it had to be a few years before he actually ended up hitting it there. But I know. Let me see where he.
right.
Uh,
Hey, you'll be surprised, man. There's 700 at that time, 750. When I went in there, I was like number 53 in 2013. And there's two sides of death row, 5 tiers up, right? And there's 5 tiers on one side, and there's 5 tiers on the other side of the building. And they call it Bayside, which can look at the whole Bay Area. You can see the bay, the ocean, and everything, like the peninsula. You can see it outside our windows. And on the other side is the yard side that's connected to inside San Quentin. And some of us, we would never see nobody that's on the other side. Like sometimes I'll go to medical in my chains, all shackled up, and I'll be like, man, who's this? I've never even seen him before in my life. And I've been there for maybe 3 years already. And there's some people that never come out. And there's times, like, for example, like a real high profile case that happened a while back was that cop, the Golden State murderer, rapist, or whatever. He used to be a cop, and
yeah.
it was huge. You know what I mean? Like, we were all waiting for him. Like, oh man, they're gonna give him the death penalty. Yes, like 30 bodies and like so many people that he raped, right? And it was a slap to our face, man. They gave a guy life without the possibility of parole. I walked him, man. And a lot of people say because he was white, you know what I'm saying? And that's not cool, you know what I mean? People have done less right here. Some people didn't even kill nobody and they're still on death row just because they were there and they got them for aiding and abetting and they're on death row. It's crazy. And that guy had so many bodies and he didn't even come to death row.
And in your case, why is it that you think that the prosecutor was seeking out the death penalty on your case?
Uh, According to my charges, it was carjacking, kidnapping, torture, and execution style. Yeah,
So
because he according to what it says, he was bound, he was tied up, hog tied, and he was carjacked, and he died execution style, to bullet to the head. And anybody that does an execution style bullet to the head is merit to get the death penalty. So that's why.
and it seems like, yeah, like you said, like certain cases, get a slap on the wrist when it comes to like gang activity or whatnot. They have gang enhancements, and they have
Mhm.
gun enhancements to make yeah, I mean, you could go in for a robbery that would normally carry 3 years, and by the time they're done with you, you're gonna be
Yeah.
having 18 years. You're gonna have they're gonna have 3 years for the robbery, and then they're gonna double it up because with your luck, you've already been to prison. So They double it up. Then they give you 10 years
Yeah.
for the gun enhancement, and then you've been to prison 2 times before, so they're gonna drop two 1 year prison priors on you. And by the time you know it, you got 18
Yeah.
years over your head on something that would have normally carried 3 years.
Yeah. But the judge, he stopped at 89 years after like the third life sentence that I was getting already. Two life sentences and the death penalty. So after 89 years, he said, you know what? I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna stop right here. You're never gonna get out. He goes, if you beat one case, you still got this other life term. If you beat the life term, you still got this other life term. And and yeah, like I don't even want to add the enhancements. He goes, I don't even want to write and add the prison priors. Just with these three alone, all these 89 years, you'll never see a day in your life. And I was like, wow, that was the judge saying all this, and so just yeah, that that was one of the things that I had to hear from the judge.
And can you help us visualize what a normal day for you in death row would be? Like what kind of activities you were doing from the time you woke up to the time it was lights out?
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have 60 seconds remaining.
All right, well, let me call you back and then I'll talk.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. We'll be here waiting for you.
uh,
All right. So the 15-minute mark had hit, and so he should be calling us back shortly. And if there's any questions that you want to ask, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the comments, and I'll go ahead and make sure I read them, read those questions off to him, and or ask him. And if you don't feel comfortable enough, to ask here in a public setting or a public forum, you could also reach out to these individuals, directly through the GTL Getting Out app. I recently made a video. It's step by step kind of a walkthrough on how to set up the app and how to add these individuals to your contact list. And it's 5 cents, 5 cents a message, and the minimum that you have to put into your account is $10. So $10 definitely go a long way, and those $10 will be specifically for your account, so you can message. All right, there he is.
This call is
This
now
is
being
Global
recorded.
Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Carlos Contreras.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
all right.
All right.
So a normal day for me on death row would have been like waking up early in the morning, mandatory. Everybody has to be up by like 6:30 because that's when we do chow. So I would wake up around 5, sometimes 4:30 in the morning, ahead of time, roll up my mattress, and get it all, fold up all my sheets and get it all, I still have my values and my morals that I picked up when I was active. And clean the cell, hit the floor, make it smell good, make my coffee, and then eat breakfast at 6:30 in the morning. They would bring it to our cells, through the tray slot, and then they'll pick them up, and then do the rest of my morning business and get ready to go to yard, bump some music, read some word, and yard will start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and depending on the rotation, who goes first, 7 yards that they have, and every single yard is segregated by classification from SMY to actives, and they will keep the northerners, the southerners apart. They'll keep the peckerwoods, the skinheads apart. They'll keep the cribs and the bloods apart, and the bulldogs apart from the northerners and everybody else. They'll be with the Indians and the Samoans, and so everybody was separated, and they wouldn't let you out all at the same time. You would go with only your yard that you were in, and so they'd come to the door. You gotta wait in your boxers, and you hand them everything that you're taking out to yard, like your clothes that you're wearing, and they inspect your shoes, they inspect your clothes, You strip, you drop, you cough. They inspect your whole body, making sure you're not taking no weapons out there. And then they cuff you up. You get dressed, you cuff you up, and you start walking out towards all the people that are on the same yard with you. They open up all the doors, and you're walking out with all at the same time, and you go through a metal detector. You just walk through another metal detector. You give them all your property. They scan it through a rapid scan, and then after you go through all that, they warn you, and then you walk all the way to the gate outside, where it's individual 7 yards with a fence in between, separating the yards with a barbed wire on top. And as soon as you're getting ready to go into the yard, they still warn you again. They put you into this little middle slot. They take off your handcuffs, and then they let you go to yard. And same process, kind of like, coming in. You gotta strip and get butt ass naked in the yard pretty much, and just they check you, and you come back inside. You go to your cell. Everybody's inside by like 12:45, and from 12:45, they start running the phones. There was a payphone that they put on wheels, and they bring it to your door, and they just open up the tray slot, and you get it for an hour. So you got to sign up. So everybody had the sign-ups, and then once the second crew comes in at 2 o'clock, they start running showers if it's shower day. And, it takes the whole rest of the day to run showers or get your phone time. And during that whole time, like, you learn to block out all the noise that's going on in the background, and there's no solid doors. It's like chicken wire doors or bars. And so it's loud 24/7 right there. Different people have different programs, and so just try to picture these, people just over talking people and over talking people talking at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Like there's no structure as towards that, because we're around SMYs, we're around actives, we're around EOPs, we're around people, that it's just anything goes. Like, only the actives, they still have that structure, 10 to 10, and they still, follow accordingly as they do, and they don't talk to nobody else but amongst themselves. But the ones that ain't, the ones that are SMY, man, or whatever, they're up all night talking, whatever. Anything goes. They don't report to nobody. So, so there's a lot of shit talking. It's more of a mental thing in there than anything, like you would call it the invade your cell. Like someone would just throw a fishing line hook, like, hey man, what the hell are you doing in there? Quit grabbing your shit, blah blah blah. And then you hear someone else be like, hey man, I ain't doing shit in here, and like, hey, I wasn't even talking to you, talking to the other guy. And the next one starts a big ass argument. And that guy does that every single day just to see who bites, and that's his entertainment for the day, to see whose skin he can get under, or who he can argue with, or that makes his time fly, because either he doesn't have family, he doesn't have no one to talk to, he doesn't know one to write to, and people do that on each other there. There's just so many foul things that go on in there. It's uncalled for. It's crazy.
And I have a question on here from Elias, man. He wants to know, are you single celled, or do you have a cellie in your cell? And how big are the cells? Are they the same size as the cell you're in now in Centinela, or smaller or bigger, or what are the dimensions?
Okay, well, where we're single cell. We're single cells, and if you were to expand your arms from arm length, like open them up as far as you can from side to side, it's smaller than that. The cells in San Quentin, it's one of the smallest cells I've ever been in my life. Like you can touch wall to wall. That's how small those cells are. And instead of having a top bunk, they chop them off, and there's only one bunk in there. It's so small that you can't even do a burpee inside. You can't even do a push-up. So you get all your stuff that you have that's on top of your bed that's rolled up, and you put it by the door. You put a towel down, and put everything right there by the door, and you pretty much, if you work out inside, you work out on top of your bunk, like your push-ups, your burpees, whatever it is, because that's how small the floor space is where you walk through. And it's one of the smallest cells I've ever seen in my life, man. It's pretty.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And probably like the lengthwise, like you could say you can take about 10 steps, like all the way down to touch the other wall, and arm length, if that, probably smaller, from arm length spread out like that. You can touch the walls from side to side. So yeah, it's a pretty small confined space, single cells. The good thing is you're single cells though, mandatory.
And is that because do they put that on your chrono? Does that follow you everywhere you go, or now that you're in Centinela, now that you have a celly?
Well, part of the 66 that got passed, when they passed that on the voters, when the voters passed this pilot program that we can go to different prisons, and part of the agreements was that they can house us with another inmate, and that's part like of the contract. And the other one was that they make us work so we can pay our restitution, and that they can take 77% of our earnings, or 70% of any money that gets placed on our books. So if someone were to send me $100, JPay to my account, out of the $100, I only get $23, and that was it. And that's because of this pilot program. So these cells over here in Santanella, man, they're huge. You know what I mean? I can work out. Me and my cellie can work out in the same cell. You know what I mean? Like I have a cellie. You know what I mean? Everywhere I used to go, I was handcuffed for years. You know what I mean? It felt weird. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I've done time before, but after you get confined into that mindset of not being around nobody, it's refreshing, man. Like more freedom. Like I feel like I paroled already when I came over to Centinela.
And compared to the from the main line to death row, was there more violence there, or was there less violence because you weren't coming in contact with other inmates? What's your take on that, or what did you experience?
From mainline, when I was mainline, it's just crazy. Mainline, when it cracks off, it cracks off. You know what I mean? Racial wars, right? And when it's individual, well, it's individual. You know, they handle it one-on-one. But in death row, you get to go on the yard. You know what I mean? With 30 other people that are SMI, or 30 other people that are active. You know, whatever it is that you are at the time when you're there. And if there's disputes in there, like they just go at it one-on-one, heads up. Or if it's a racial, it's a big old racial war. But during that time, they had all the Sureños in the hole, mandatory. If they knew that you were Sureño, you never got out of the hole, and you stayed in the hole. So there was, when I first moved to East Block from the adjustment center, there was no Sureños over there. There was no active Sureños. Everybody was either a dropout, or you were a northerner, or you were, the northerner actives were over there, the Bloods, the Cribs, and all these other gangs. They were all out there, but all the Southerners, they had all had them slammed down for some reason. I guess because of prior racial wars that they would have on the yard, and they started just separating them all. And when usually a crack off right there, it was just one-on-ones, little disputes, one-on-ones, and they wouldn't make a big deal out of it. They're just like, all right, the gunner, he's with the Mini 14 right there, walking over the whole yard, and he would just say, hey, you guys done? And that was it. Sometimes if they didn't want to stop, they'll get shot with rubber bullets, or the grenades, but that blows up. But they take them out and put them back in the cages, sign the marriage chrono, and that's it. Put them back on the yard. They wouldn't stop program that much at all. And plus over there they use this tactic where if you were to get a write-up over there, they send you to the hole. And when you go to the hole, they send all your property home. everything. You're mandatory. You have to send it home. Your CD player, your CDs, your hot pot, your hobby craft, your fan, all these luxuries that you get because you're in East Block. But when you get sent to the hole, in the hole, all you can have is like your sweats, a radio, your TV, and
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
thermals, beanies, a pair of socks, and that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? And you only get one package a year. And when we were in East Block, so if you get a hole, that's where you go. If you get a write up of 115, you go to the hole. And so they would threaten people, I'm gonna give you a write up, and they'll be like, nah, they'll act right real quick because people that don't have nobody out there, like if you keep going to the hole repeatedly, and imagine your family paying every single time when you come out of the hole to buy you new CDs, to buy a new fan, to buy a new hot pot, buying your everything that you lost because you were a knucklehead or got hot headed. The cuesta costs a lot of money, and I've seen a lot of inmates lose their family over that. And so that's a little tactic that the CDCR uses right there for us to make us discipline ourselves and not get in trouble. And so, but when it's gonna crack off between two individuals because they start selling all their stuff, in the tears, and the next day all you hear is the buzzer goes off and everybody gets down, and all the pieces that people had were all made out of plastic or paintbrushes or wood. To find metal and take it to the yard, it's impossible. We go through too many metal detectors, so people will melt plastic and melt and sharpen up pieces of wood and take it to the yard because they don't beat. And so the damage is not that hard. It's not as bad as what metal can do, right? So, but it does happen once in a while.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
All right. You could go ahead and give us a call back, and we'll go ahead and continue.
All right.
All right. So we just hit the 1 hour and 1 minute mark. We'll probably end up doing like one or two more calls, and then now we'll probably do a part or continue with the part eight because obviously he's no longer in death row, so I want him to share on exactly what happened and the differences between where he's at now and where he was. Obviously, where he's at now, they got a lot more programs. He could go to school, as he stated earlier on. He has a celly, so it's day and night. And hold on, okay. And then I just saw your message right now from El Iceman. I'll go ahead and ask him right now as soon as he calls back.
This call is now being
This
recorded.
is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Carlos Contreras.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right, Carlos. Thank you. Appreciate you calling us back. And right now, while we're waiting for you to call back, we actually got a question from El Iceman, and he wants to know how often are visits on death row. Can you describe the visiting room and were the visits non-contact visits?
Our visiting, there's two sections. There's a visiting section in mainline, like the whole San Quentin prison one, where we're all like in like kennels, like you could say, like they have us all separated because there's mainline, there's SNY, there's EOPs, and when you go to visiting, you're like in a cage. You're in a cage with your family, and they put chairs in there. Your family gets to buy you some treats or out of the vending machines, some food you want to eat, something special. They buy it all together, and then when you're waiting inside those cages, they take you out, they let them in, then they put you back in, then they take them off, your cuffs, and you get to spend your visits, inside a cage, and it's kind of crazy because one of my nieces, she would come visit me, right? And she at that time she was about 6, 7 years old maybe, and she drew me a picture one time, sent it to me, and I was all in my blues, and we were all inside a cage. And it's kind of crazy because she's getting put in that type of mentality, like being in a cage, being surrounded, like that's what she knows about where her deal's at, her uncle, in prison, and but we still try to make the best out of it. They still give us contact visits, try to make it the best. Any single time you're able to come out of the prison that you're in, the walls that you're in, just to be with a loved one or someone that's visiting you,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
it gives you that little bit of escape, of what the world's like out there. And when they come visit you, you get to hear other stories, right? Instead of the same prison stories over and over and over again. Oh, how's so and so? How's my primo? Or how's my brothers? Or how's this? And it brings a little excitement. You know what I mean? And it feels good to get visits. So yeah, we got contact visits there. And when I finally came to this pilot program over here, they don't have me in that type of atmosphere no more, where I'm in a cage, and I used to explain to them, yeah, we used to show up in like, in chains, like literally handcuffed from our back, like we just got arrested to show up to visiting. They'll be looking at us like, but that's just the procedure that they have us out in San Quentin because it's high profile. But over here, everything's open. I'm in the same area where all the visitors, like a regular visit in regular population, and get our little table. I can walk with into the vending machines, and it's awesome. Feels a little bit of more freedom.
And as far as education, how do they offer any educational programs when you're on death row?
Yes, they have. In there, they have. You can go to college. You can sign up for college. There's a lot of how do you say, where you can write to college to see if they'll accept you, and you do by mail college courses. And they have all kinds of college, also Bible study courses, prep. Same thing that they have anywhere else. They offer those type of courses, but like rehabilitation programs inside death row where people go to groups or go to better themselves. Nah, they try to keep us inside our cage 24/7. The only time we get to come out of our cells is to yard, or if we got to go to medical, and then we're in chains while we're we're taking our temperature. They're asking us what's wrong with us. We're sitting in a chair right there with chains, shackles. And when we're going to dentists, we're sitting there in chains while they're drilling our teeth to fix our cavities or whatever. We're on chains everywhere. Like when they're escorting to these areas in the prison, they put the whole prison down while they're escorting us out of East Block from the section that we're in to when we get to where we're going. They put the whole prison down. And back in the days, they used to say, dead man walking, but that slogan got changed to escort walking. And but yeah, they do offer only through mail courses. If any colleges wants to accept you, or any type of programs that you want to participate, you can do that.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And I have uh, a watcher right now that goes by the name of LA Analyst, and they're asking, how did you become part of the pilot program?
Part of the pilot program, in order for you to participate in the program, you have to have 5 years write-up free. That was a requirement right there. You can't have a write-up for anything for 5 years. And when it was available to us, I was one of the first ones, part of the first wave of inmates that volunteered to go because it was going to take me closer to home. And my first place that I hit was Donovan, somewhere where it's nice weather, and I was able to go there. But yeah, because of the pilot program, those were the requirements. You just had to have 5 years clean with write-up free.
And so okay, so they were offering sign ups. You signed up, and obviously you were granted.
You
You
get
know,
to choose.
yeah.
Yeah, you get to choose what prison you go to.
Okay, nice,
Out of the
nice.
7 prisons that were available to us, yeah, there's only like 7 prisons that we can go to that have electrical fence, and those are the only prisons that were eligible to go. So the first, after they've done the whole classification on me, they're saying, well, you qualify for a level 3. I was like, what? Imagine going from death row to a level 3. I'm like, let's go. I don't gotta go to the hole, or I don't gotta go to a level 4. Like, I don't have to go to a level 4. Like, let's go. Going straight to a level 3. Let's go. And so I've been in a level 3 ever since.
And can you give us a picture of how you felt when they informed you that you qualified and you were going to be going to another prison, and how was the day, like when you got transported, they woke you up early, and how long did it take, for you to get from point A to point B, and how were you perceived, by the correctional staff and by the inmates when you got there, like were people shocked, like what kind of reaction did you get when you landed in these places and people found out that you were formerly in death row?
Man, okay, so the day that I knew that I qualified for the program and I was accepted to Donovan Prison, it was I mean, I was excited, you know what I mean? I remember being in the shower the last day that I was there in death row, like literally, like I ain't gonna lie, I kind of teared up a little bit because like there was times that I'll bite my tongue on the yard for with certain individuals and then didn't want to hurt them because I said, you know what, I'm gonna hold on because I'm looking forward to something. I'm gonna get out of this place. So you know, the day that he said I can go, I was like, man, now I can go closer to home. My family can visit me because they would come visit me all the way in San Francisco. They get a whole 3-day thing, and but now I'm be closer, so it was better for them, to come visit me. And as soon as I remember the first night that they took us, because it was COVID, so we had to go through a whole 2 weeks of quarantine. And so they took us to the adjustment center, to the Holfers for quarantine, and it was a trip because we were all handcuffed. We were like, it was 9 of us, and I shit you not, man. Everybody was. We were all being escorted. The sky was open. The stars were out, and everybody was looking out, just looking at the stars. They're like, damn, like, hey man, you know how long I've been chasing the stars, man? Like literally, because we don't get to come out at night. And the windows are so fogged up, like the only way we could see like the sky and the stars was like through movies and stuff like that, right? And we're like all like little kids, we're like when like a dog's in back of a truck or something, they're just looking everywhere. That was us, like when they're escorting us to the adjustment center at night, and everybody was excited, man, to start this journey. And they quarantined us for 2 weeks, making, we did 3 tests of corona, make sure we didn't have it. Then they transferred us, and upon arrival, I remember there was an officer there that I knew that used to work in San Quentin and was my tier officer. And he remembered me because I used to do the showers, I used to clean the showers, and I would operate the phone log. And so yeah, as soon as I walked in, he goes, Contreras, hey, how you doing, man? He goes, hey, what's up, man? He goes, what the hell you guys doing here? I said, they let us out. He goes, man, that's crazy. Hey, that's good for you guys, man. And he processed our property. We got there, and, not only do you have to go through the stigma of some officers, like, that were death row inmates, we're like on a, like microscope. They're like just looking at us, okay, see what they're gonna do. But we also had to deal with inmates, like when you tell them I'm a condemned inmate, like right away they back up, they take 2 steps back, like oh shit, I've been in the hole before, or they try to compare their whole experience, or they try to compare different things, like I don't know, for some reason I noticed that they try to sound all macho, or I don't tell them in the hole, or instead of being happy that they let me out, right? But some of them like were scared, They didn't know how to process it. All they heard was like, "This is a death row inmate." Like, like they would be like, "Man, like you don't got nothing to lose," type of deal, right? And so there's a stigma on both sides, not only the officers getting there and inmates, but it was only through my conduct and all those who got let out through getting to know us, man. Hey, we're people just like you, man. We just got sent to we got sent to death row. You know what I mean? There's people in where I was at that killed a lot more people. You know what I mean? And there were LWAPs or whatever, and and I ran into a lot of good people though, a lot of good people, and it was by our actions that we're able to demonstrate to them that we're not a threat. We're just excited. Like I said, to me it was like a parole. I paroled already. They're like, man, it's crazy because you're happy. You know what I mean? I always see you and you're happy. Well, like you should have seen where I was at. That's where I'm happy every single day. Like it gives me that joy, man. I made it. Like, and there's still a lot of people over there, but they're on their way out.
And I got another question right here from Elias, man. He says that he was in San Quentin for a hot minute, decades ago. And he says it's a dump. And then he has a question for you. He says, does Carlos think San Quentin will be closed someday?
Yes, it's already been approved. It's already been approved by Gavin Newsom. He did a moratorium where they stopped all the executions under his watch, and because the pilot program was a success, they're revising it as I speak right now, and they're making it mandatory for every single person on death row to be released from death row and into general population. So they're gonna turn death row East Block into a level 1. They're gonna turn it into a rehabilitation reentry home for people preparing them to go home. And they're going to just flood us out all over California. You're going to see condemned inmates all over California and all the prisons pretty soon that have the fence around. They're going to allow us to go to level 2s. They're going to allow us to work behind the wall, to get PIA jobs, good paying jobs, so that we can pay our restitution. And because it was a success. The 2-year pilot program was a success, and they're letting everybody out. It's already been signed. They're just working on the logistics of how they're going to transfer everybody, and yeah.
And right now that you're in Centinela, what kind of programs are you participating in? Are you going to school? Or are
You
you
have 60 seconds remaining.
Right here in Centinela, I'm working at canteen. They trust me enough to work in canteen. Participating in prep classes. I'm also doing domestic violence classes right now. I'm not in a domestic violence.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Okay, let me call you back.
Yeah, well, we'll be here waiting for you. Thank you. All right, so he should be calling us back shortly. And to be honest with you, I never expected anybody that was formerly a death row inmate to come on this podcast. So uh, I don't even think I knew that anybody had got moved over from San Quentin over to Centinela. So um, when 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 uh, when Carlos was referred to me, I definitely was willing to take his information down and reach out to him and speak to him, and definitely wanted to hear his story.
Call is now being
This
recorded.
is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Carlos Contreras.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello. All
Hello.
right. Yeah, and so like I was telling you, I'm involved in domestic violence classes right now. And I got nothing like that of the nature in my cases, but I'm putting it, I'm being part of it to learn the nature of it, why couples fight, and the different areas that people, commit a domestic violence act. And I'm learning, I'm broadening my horizon, and at the same time, uh, go to church, and I just got here to Centinela, so right now I'm about to get enrolled into college for spring, and just taking little steps at a time to help build up my Psalms, my my C file. So it shows that I'm trying to rehabilitate myself on paper, and everything looks good. And at the same time, when one wants to better himself, he'll do these classes, right? And he'll learn the knowledge of it in a sincere way, and apply it in life, right? There's CGA, there's different type of courses that they give here that that just makes you a better person, right? You're around a bunch of gentlemen that are trying to better themselves, get really rehabilitated, and try to change the old nature that they once were. And it's only through hearing different people's experiences and emotions of what they've been through in life that you can relate and you can connect and you can fix and you can rehabilitate and heal, right? And so within these classes, it's a safe zone that we can open up and share it and actually mean it and do the whole rehabilitation, transformation, change, man, in life. We gotta those who are in classes, they're trying to go back to society, change, be an asset to society, and people tell me like, come on, Carlos, you're condemned. Why are you doing these classes? They're trying to kill you, man. And I'm like, man, you know what? You know, to better myself, for my family, for my fiance, for people that are around here, maybe they're going through stuff like that, and just because I learned the knowledge, I can help them how to deal with their situation. Just because maybe they don't go to groups, so I'm trying to give back, with all this education that I learned, and I learned that it's good to learn new wisdom. It's good to just hold it all in there, you know what I mean, and reflect on it and become a better version of myself. And so, don't get me wrong, there was times that they would get at me and be like, hey man, why don't you give your seat to someone that's trying to go home, and you're never gonna go home. I even heard those words, and I'll be like, hey man, I think I'm redeemable still, and I want to change too, I mean, I'm no different, because there's such thing that exists for me, which is clemency. It's when you can write to the governor and ask for a mercy plea, a reductive of sentence. And I'm not asking to go home. I'm just asking for a lower sentence. But I got to put in the work, get an LWOP sentence, and it will give me more freedoms. And so, but I have to show the claim time. I have to do the programs. And I'm doing it with a smile. I'm doing it with joy. I'm enjoying the journey. I'm not doing it like, man, I got to do this, I got to do that, because it's not genuine, You know what I mean? The transformation is not genuine. So when you're actually doing it with a smile and excitement, that's when it's all worth it. Everything goes by so fast.
And what's in the cards for you in the future? Because I mean, just hearing it in your voice, just leaving such a dark place, known as San Quentin Death Row, and now you're here in Centinela. It just seems like the possibilities are endless. You got so much opportunity at your fingertips here. What do you have in store in the future for yourself, or where do you see yourself going?
Well, for right now, I'm just trying to build the reputation right here in this prison with my peers and with the officers, just showing them that I'm not a threat to them, and that I'm here to give back. I'm here to rehabilitate myself and do the work, do the personal growth and the work, and work on my clemency, maybe like 15 years down the line. I already got about 14, 15.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I got about 15 in already, 14 around there, and So about another 15 more years, file for a clemency and and shoot for an LWOP. If they have not already took the death penalty away through the voters, because they do it every single time they elect the governor. They put it on the ballot, the death penalty if the state of California wants to get rid of it, but it has to come through the voters. So that's my hoping down the line that they'll get rid of the death penalty, and then I'll have LWOP, and it'll allow me to have conjugal visits with at that time will be my wife, and to give me these extra little luxuries. You know what I mean? Like to be able to touch my wife and have those intimate moments with her in that type of way, and it gives me a little bit of humanity back when I get that. So those are my goals for right now. And if down the line, God willing, I get out, well, mentoring, living a changed life, following the ministry, it's like it's it's not going to be about me anymore. It's going to be about what I can do for others through my testimony, through my experience. And that's what I have hope for in the future. You got to believe it first before it can come to fruition. You got to have it in your heart. And I have it in my heart. I believe someday I'll get a reductive of sentence or maybe get out someday. But I can believe, can't I? So that's what I have right now.
Let me ask you something. I was just thinking about something about death row. Uh, how common was drug usage when you were on death row? But before that, before you answer that question, I also want to congratulate you on your journey and going to school and changing your life, because I mean you can't deny the change. I hear it in your voice, and I have to congratulate
That's
you on
right.
that.
Thank you. Yeah, just like any other prison, man, drugs are everywhere and phones are everywhere, and back in those days, yeah, you could hear them. You can hear them. There was that one time it was crank, that bad bath salt, whatever they used to call it during that time. That whole era back in like in 2013, 14, it was that bath salt that would go around, make people flip out. But yeah, there's drugs everywhere, man. They exist through all different means that it comes in. Sometimes, everybody knows best. The prison's in on it. The guards. You know, the way inmates bring it in, they bring it in, and it's never gonna stop because it's just up to the individual if he wants to change and stop doing drugs. And it requires a lot of discipline. It requires wanting to change your circles, who you're around, and the influences that you allow to be around with. But yeah, the drugs exist everywhere, and even to this day. And yeah,
And did you ever witness any or hear about any inappropriate relationships between the guards and the inmates
um,
and death row?
not necessarily, not death row, no, not necessarily. The last time, it got weeded out, like pretty much, like they pretty much this guy tried to come in with 17 phones strapped around his he had like a back brace wrap around 17 phones, and he was coming back, and I guess the wrong officer was working or something like that, and he still tried it and got caught, and so it came out on the news and everything, and and
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
ever since that day, our warden installed a whole new metal system, the kind that you get when you're going on an airplane, where you got to stand on and it goes and it scans your whole body. Like there's a whole examination where it's like what is that called? Uh, oh my God, my mind's going blank. But it's kind of like the same scan that they do over there, an X-ray. They do an X-ray scan. We can see like your whole stomach, everything, just to see if you have any metal on you. And they installed a real expensive machine right there because of that foam, and it kind of weeded out a lot of that foam process in death row. So But yeah, it exists everywhere. You know what I mean? It's still to this day. Family members, low key family members, and family members, and it's either family members in prison, and that's how it usually starts, or relationships, and you know, inmates work on the prison guards and ladies, and making a romantic relationship with them, and next they get them to the point where they bring everything in for them, and some of them make thousands and thousands of dollars over it. So yeah, that's never gonna change. It still exists everywhere.
And if you could share a message with anybody listening out there, like what would you wanna, what would you want them to take away from this, from this interview, and what kind of positive message would you want to share with them?
I guess I could say, more or less is that, people that were on death row, I hope that this can try to break that stigma, because we were written off to be executed and to be condemned and to be like the throwaway of society, right? And we're no different than anybody out there. We just made mistakes and in the heat of the moment and got the best of us and put ourselves in these predicaments and taking responsibility. It's a real big thing as me learning everything that I've gone through, and I couldn't have gone through this whole change if it weren't for Jesus Christ, to tell the truth, through the whole transformation of reading the Bible and adapting those morals and those values into my life. I've never experienced that before. All I known was violence and different, selfish acts, and I just pray that when the time comes, in the future, when the death penalty does come up on the ballot someday, that you guys can think about, not everybody in there is a throwaway, right? We are redeemable, and there's a lot of men out there that have done the change, that educated themselves, that done the work, and need that second chance at life. And and so, I ask people, to look inside themselves, because that's something that I was able to do during this time. Look inside yourself and see something that, take the time to just meditate and see some defects that you may have, some flaws that you may have, and work on them. Work on them, study it, learn it. If it's backbiting, if it's talking about people, gossiping, if it's about um, getting angry, or if it's about, being so prideful. There's just so many different attributes and characters that people deal with in life that, that got me into prison. I pray that you're able to change those through the different avenues that you have out in the streets, and do something about it and become a best version of who you can be out there, and not be so selfish, and look at the hurting person around you, whether it might be your own kids, your own brothers, your own sisters, even a complete stranger out in the streets, man. Believe it or not, we all need help, and and it doesn't cost us nothing to tell a person in the morning, hey, good morning, how you doing?
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Tell them God bless you. Everybody's redeemable, everybody's hurting, and everybody needs to be encouraged, and it doesn't cost us nothing to encourage somebody.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it doesn't take much, much energy or much thought, just to tell somebody hi or hello, or how's your day going. It's not
Yeah,
it's not that complicated. I know a lot of the times out here, and I'm guilty of it. You're focused on your phone, and you're not focusing on the things that are going on around you. So we're very distracted out here. We find a lot of
I hear you.
entertainment on our phones, YouTube and TV and movies and Netflix and all that stuff, and society is definitely definitely different than when I was growing up. People are less more involved with each other, and more involved in their
Yeah.
devices. Oh, well, I didn't see that coming. Totally forgot that the 60-second mark had to come up. He should be calling us back shortly, and we'll go ahead and continue. I think this is probably gonna be our last phone call because I do have some plans. We are gonna I think we're going out to dinner tonight, so definitely gotta get start getting ready for that. And my wife's been nice enough, not to allow me to have these hours, by myself, so I could go ahead and focus on this. But doing these calls, it does take me away from my family and some of the duties that I have in my household. Definitely want to recognize the sacrifice that my wife is making. By being good with this vision that I have and going along with it. And let me see. Hold on. Iceman just put a question. And I'll go ahead and read him off your message right now, Iceman.
This call is now being
This
recorded.
is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Carlos Contreras.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello, Carlos.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So we've been on this call for I think a little bit over an hour and a half right now.
Okay.
I got some things coming up today. But I want to go ahead and thank
All
you,
right.
for taking the time out of your day. But I want you to come back on Monday, on Monday or your next available day, so we could just go ahead and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go back through your interviews and check if there's anything that I miss, and I want to ask you some other questions and get
Yeah,
into.
that sounds great.
Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. Well, I just want to go ahead and thank you, for your time, like I said, and sharing your experience and pretty much your whole life story. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
like 3-4 hours, you're never gonna be able to get into your full life. But you obviously
Yeah.
gave us a little window into your childhood, school, and going through the system. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate that, and I hope you with you sharing your story, it touches somebody, or if somebody's going through some things in their life, and they could kind of maybe they see some similarities between your life and their lives, and maybe it'll prevent them from going down the same route, and choosing to do something else, maybe joining the military, going to school, and excelling at something positive instead of going down that road that a lot of us have gone down through, or
Yeah.
so we really 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 appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
That's right. Thank you, James, for the opportunity. I appreciate it too. And yeah, man, anytime. And Monday sounds good. If they don't call me for work on Monday, I will let you know early in the morning. And if they don't, then what time will be good for you?
On Monday, I would say maybe like around 3 or 4, a little bit closer to the
Okay,
to
yeah.
the evening. Um,
4 o'clock. How about 4 o'clock on Monday? I'll be here for sure.
okay, all right, great. Well, you guys heard that. Anybody listening to the stream right now, we'll be back. We'll be back on Monday at 4 o'clock, and we'll go ahead and continue getting into his story and his testimony.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, and God bless you, man. You have a blessed day, and don't forget to say Happy Thanksgiving and really mean it to somebody, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, and everybody that's joined in and was listening to the stream, want to go ahead and thank you too, because without you, none of this would be possible either. Everything it's pretty much a team effort. So from Carlos sharing his story, from me, putting this forum on YouTube, and then you guys listening. So it's all a team effort.
That's right. All right. Well, you have a blessed day. All right.
All right, you as well. Thank you.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.